Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to NCI Live. My name is David Groth, and I'm a technical sales specialist at Network Center. Today, we're going to be talking about the Power Platform. What is it? What's it all about? So let's get started. Joining me today is Jason Messner. He's a principal engineer here with us at Network Center. Jason, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
So,
Glad to be here.
yes, great. So, Power Platform, what is it? What's it all
Sure.
about?
I guess try and sum it up in more or less one sentence. I guess to me, the Power Platform is something that Microsoft has created, and it basically provides a framework and tools which will allow you to go ahead and create a custom cloud hosted, low code, low cost solution to solve your real world problems that you have today. So that's what I would say if you gave me one sentence to explain it. So
Excellent, excellent. I should interject here. This is kind of one of my little side passion projects. I love to play. I love to play, and one of the components is Powerapps. I did forget, those of you that are joining us live, this is a live show. Feel free to chat us any of your questions. Jason and I can answer them, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go. Also, make sure that you subscribe to our channel so that you can get regular updates. Also, make sure that when you do subscribe, we do these at 11 a.m. every other Wednesday. So you'll be able to attend. We have all kinds of different topics. You'll be able to learn various things about a very wide variety of topics in the information technology and security space. So, with that, let's talk more about the different components of
sure.
Power Platform. Want to give us some of the components and what all do they do?
Sure, sounds good. Thanks. So we'll probably start off with the way I always like to explain it is there's basically four pillars that actually make up the Power Platform that Microsoft provides for us. And so the first one is going to be Power BI, and that's the one that's probably been around the longest. So I'm assuming most people here at least have heard of that one before, unlike some of the other ones we talk about later that you may or may not have heard of. So, and to me, with Power BI, it's once again Microsoft is just allowing us as users to go out and collect our data from multiple places, because we all know that our data isn't being stored in just one place. It could be in Excel, it could be in our ERP solution, it could be in SQL, it could be in SharePoint. So what it does is it allows us to take all that data from all the different places and combine it. And then once we combine it, then we can go ahead and take that data that's been combined and use the visualizations that are actually part of Power BI to go ahead and create a interactive report that we can actually go ahead and post to the cloud and then have multiple people go view it. So like, for instance, if we wanted to do our sales, we could go ahead and create our sales report, but then create many different visuals. So we could drill down to see year to date. We could go see which salesperson has the best sales for the month. We could go see which products we have. So it's really a tool to more or less take the data that's scattered across our actual systems and combine it into one cloud hosted solution,
Right.
and then have everybody be able to view it and create workspaces for each one of the different departments.
Right.
So that's that.
And to interject there, so one of the things
Sure.
that people ask me about is, well, isn't that just a report writer? Would you classify it as a report writer?
No, it kind of got its start with SQL SRS reports for us old guys back in the day and stuff. But no, it's basically just taking your data and giving it into a way that you can interactively look at it and then use it to actually make business decisions.
Right.
So we can say, if our sales last year were down 20%, well, why?
Yeah.
So and that's the logic that I think Microsoft does a great job of trying to provide this platform to help that basically our customers and our users to be able to get that information out of their systems that has it stored in multiple places to make those day-to-day business decisions easier for them.
Right.
So
So it's a business, the BI, the business intelligence,
intelligence,
basically
yes,
allows
you're
you to
correct.
gather all that data together and put it more or less into a dashboard that would allow you to drill down into different places to find out the information you need to find out. Fair statement?
Exactly, I'd have to agree with you.
Okay. All right.
Did good.
All right. What else we got? What else we got in this Power Platform?
So that's the first one. Now, like I said, there's four pillars. So the second one would be Power Automate, and some people may know it as workflow or flow. because it was first given to us by Microsoft as part of SharePoint and was called the workflow at that time. And so basically what it is now Power Automate is hosted in the cloud, just like all the other parts of the Power Platform versus being on-prem the way it was originally hosted to us. But Power Automate gives us the ability to take any of our tasks that we have today that are repetitive or mundane or stuff that we have that we don't really like to do, but we have to get them done. And it gives us the ability to go ahead and take that information and create automation. And then the automation is actually hosted in the cloud. So we can schedule it to run on a schedule. It can run every day. It can run when an actual event is fired. And so once again, it's just one more of the aspects that we can get. And one of the cool things is most people already have it with their Office licensing already that they have already. So most people have access to it. So some of the, oh, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, could you give us an example of a Power Automate, something that like an example of one of those flows or those automations?
Sure. One of the kind of common question thing is we usually have a lot of stuff like purchase requests or other requests that actually need approval. So where Power Automate shines is that approval process can be easily automated. So for instance, like if an actual item is created and it needs approval, we can actually connect to the database, let it be SharePoint or SQL or Oracle or whatever the database, and we can see when that new record is actually created. And then we can have a set of approvers that we actually send in Teams, or we can do an email, or we can do both. We can actually send them the approval process because Teams has approvals built into it automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll get the request basically saying, hey, one of our employees has entered this invoice or this purchase request for X amount of dollars. Do you want to approve it or not? They'll
Right.
get a ability to basically enter in information if they want to approve or reject, and then it'll actually send it back to the person that actually entered it and then go update that record being stored in whatever database it is. So that's kind of a more or less simple way of doing it. But like other things too is we have a lot of customers that have pen and paper stuff that they're doing today. Like for instance, if you're still having, like when your customer comes in, you actually have a form that you fill out. Same thing, we can go ahead and help automate that process and have it so like when we can create a form and then when they enter the information in, we can save it to the database. We can also go ahead and connect to email and send that out to email to whoever the person is that would, like for instance, need to work on that item that was brought into our shop, like it was like a repair shop.
Sure,
So
sure. So the things that would normally go through a step-by-step process or something that gets triggered by some event happening or some data point being accessed. Yeah?
yeah, yeah, I guess I always ask the question of, what is the business workflow that you have today, which most customers are pretty easy to explain what that step-by-step process is. And then you're exactly right. Then we just use Power Automate because Power Automate has all the connectors to talk to all the different things like Excel and SQL and Oracle built into it. So, and your email as well and Office 365 users and stuff like that. So we can leverage all that information to create that automation.
I did want to touch on, you did mention something there that is fascinating to me is connectors. And we'll move on when we talked about some of these other things, but
Sure.
connectors are a kind of a key component to Power BI, Power Automate, Power Apps, Power Virtual Agents. It Can you explain a little bit more about what a connector is to the people that are listening and how they, you know, the different types of connectors, because it's not just Microsoft, but they work in a lot of different scenarios. Explain what a connector is and how it works.
Sure. So that's part of the Power Platform. They call them data connectors, and that's exactly what it is. It's a way to connect to any sort of data source. And like you said, it's not Microsoft because, like, of course, like I mentioned, you could connect to Oracle, you could connect to SAP, you could connect to Twitter, you can, but Microsoft has went and spent the time and energy to create over 300 data connectors out of the box. And so that's the cool thing about using the Power Platform, and that's why it is low code, is because they've already done all the work for you. So you can basically say, like, for instance, if I wanted to attach to Excel document, or if I want to attach to, say, SharePoint, there's already connectors for those. And so basically what I can do is within Power Automate scripting, I can say when a new item is created, or I can actually search through Excel document and find an actual line. Like for instance, if there's a date in there, I could say, go find me every Monday, and it would search through the Excel document, find that row, and then return all the data that's stored in that row to me using automation stored in the cloud.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it is kind of interesting. So
Yeah, that's one of the things I love is the word power is truly apt for what it does. It does have a lot of power, but also they made it very I'm going to say easy, but user friendly would maybe be a way to do it because would you agree too that a lot of these tools are drag and drop, templated, and you just need to know a little bit and maybe how to use your Google foo, get in there and get in there and start looking up documentation and you could build an app. So I'm going to say app, report, dashboard, an automation fairly quickly.
yeah, and Microsoft has went ahead and they've templated a lot of these things. So when you go out there and actually create like a new Power Automate script, you type in what you're trying to do. Like, for instance, go to SharePoint when a new item's created, send an email. There is a template already created. So then you click on that template and then it's more or less filling in, okay, what SharePoint list do I want to go look to and who do I want to email?
Right.
So yeah, you're exactly right. And that's once again part of the whole platform and trying to stay low code is they've done a lot of the coding. It's built into the framework already, and so you can just easily use it just by going out there. And like you said, if you get on Google and search for any of these things of like I'm trying to do this, you'll find tons of articles, videos, and everything else explaining exactly step by step what to do.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. I'm going to take a break here, really, and remind everyone who's watching and listening. Please chat us your questions. We're definitely happy to take them. I know Jason is a wealth of knowledge on this topic, so please chat us your questions, anything at all relating to this. And also, just a reminder to follow us on all our social media channels, and take it from there. So we've talked about Power BI, Power Automate. Let's talk about probably my favorite topic, Power Apps. I have to say
sure.
it's my favorite. So go for it, Jason. What do you got?
Okay. So to me, Power Apps is once again Microsoft's way of basically creating a custom cloud hosted application. So basically what our users have a lot today is in their current system, their ERP or whatever product it is does not have the current functionality that they need. So this allows them to go ahead and create that custom application, and then it allows us to use all the framework stuff as far as like we already talked about the data connectors, and then to use those data connectors, and then Power Apps allows us to create a UI. So like for instance, you could just think of it as you're going to get a welcome window. You're going to be able to click on a button like I want to go enter a purchase request. When I click on that button, it takes you to the next screen. And the neat thing is Microsoft has already done a lot of the work. So it's a lot of really like click and drag. Like I want a button placed here. I want a form placed here. And then those data connectors connect to your actual data source to auto generate your form for you. So it really makes creating a custom app a lot easier than what we would have to do if, say, we wanted to do it with a website or any other custom applications. And one of the other cool things about using the platform is Microsoft has went through and said, okay, we know that not all our users are on Windows, not all our users need data connect stuff. So when I actually build my application, so I just basically go in and create a user interface. And then when I create that user interface, it's actually built in three different packages: one to run on Windows, one to run on iOS, and one to run on Android.
Yep.
So then any of those devices, let them be mobile, tablet, Surface, iPad, whatever, can all access the same application. And it's
Right. That is probably one of my favorite features. If you really, at a basic level, if you didn't want to go too deep into, and this is where your talent shines, is being able to write those different and code it slightly differently for those interfaces. But really, if you didn't want to go down that route, you could really build just one template and have it work fairly easily across those different platforms. Am I right in saying that?
No, nope, you're correct. Yep. And like you said, once again, Microsoft has probably over a dozen templated things of normal things that a user would might ask for, like cost estimation is one of the ones that's out there. There's one as far as like booking rooms too. So there's definitely ones out there that they have templates for you where a lot of the work's already been done, a lot of the UI's already been created, but then you can easily tweak it and add your own branding, your own colors, your own fonts, all that stuff, which that's the cool thing, is we can make a nice customized app for each one of our customers for each one of these areas or business problems that they don't have a solution for today.
Yeah. And it's drag and drop, a few clicks. I mean, granted, if you know coding, it goes much faster, but
Yeah, knowing some coding background does help. But like you said,
yeah,
if you get stuck, I mean, once again, you can easily find and search online and find a lot of your answers, because you're not the first one that's probably ran into that problem.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Can you give us an example of how someone is using this in a practical way? I mean, we've talked about a lot of things in the technology terms. Can you give an example of how someone is using Power Apps in a practical way? And
Sure. Well,
obviously, no, just company names and all that
yeah,
stuff.
no. So like I said, we've written quite a few projects, some internal, some for customers and everything else, but more or less it's a great way to take the last two things I've talked about, because pretty much we're Power Automate and Power Apps combine very well together, and we can actually add in the first one as well and do Power BI. So like one of the ones, we did a ticketing system where more or less it allows us to have multiple roles, so we can create different windows. So in this case, we actually had a dispatcher. So the dispatcher would be able to come in and they would get the requests from our customers that they basically needed service of some type. So then we'd have a screen for them to go ahead and enter it in. And then one of the coolest things I've done so far was, then we also had a scheduling one where they could actually see all the technicians that would be actually working on each one of those jobs. And then we could actually have the actual Power app talk to each one of their calendars and go out and say, hey, I need somebody tomorrow at 1 to 2 to go on site and fix this problem for the customer. And then what it would do is it go look at all like 8 or 10 of the technicians that you had, and it would find each one of the technicians that only had that availability in their time, bring it back to
Yep.
you.
Yep.
And then with one click of one button, the dispatcher could actually create an actual calendar event for that user to be at that customer site. And it would actually not only create the calendar event, we'd populate it with all the information, like for instance, what's their location, who they need to contact, what that person's email is, what that person's phone number is, and all that stuff, which is all pulled from Office 365. So
So that's a ton of stuff you just told me, right? Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
sure.
In my mind, programming and all that notwithstanding, that's hundreds of thousands of lines of code, right? And that's thousands of man hours to do something like that. Are we talking anywhere close to that with Power Apps?
No, because that's the cool thing is, like I said, Microsoft is done. Like for instance, so to go look at your calendar, I don't have to write a line of code. I just have to, the framework has that already built into it. So I just call it and say, hey, go look at these users' calendars.
It's
And then
it's almost
it
like click, drag, grab this thing to do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So,
yeah,
I mean, that really is what they're going after too, is they're trying to, because they know customers have these business problems that exist today that their current systems aren't, covering. And so we kind of have
hmm
these gaps in actual technology that we're missing. And like I said,
yeah,
Power Apps has been great to fill those gaps. And like I said, at a low cost. And then
yeah.
not only at a low cost, it's lower code. So I mean, it's the code is a lot stabler, because if Microsoft says, "Hey, I actually built the piece that talks to your calendar," I would guess there's probably going to work a lot better than creating custom code and multiple hundreds of lines to do that. So yeah,
Absolutely. So basically, if you want, there could be an app for that, to
yes,
use the parlance. Yep.
yep, exactly.
Um, okay. Well, let's that's really a great summary, and we can definitely chat more if you'd like to, get a hold of us here. I'm sure uh, we could definitely have a chat with anyone who'd like to. But let's move on and talk about another one that I really geek out about, and that's Power Virtual Agents.
Yep.
I'm a call center guy from way back, so Power Virtual Agents, even though it's not directly, I say call center, but now it's contact center, right?
Sure.
So Power Virtual Agents really speaks to me because of the technologies involved and somewhat how it works, but also the functions that it serves. So let's talk more about that. What are your thoughts about the Power Virtual Agents? What are they, and kind of what they do for us?
Sure. Sounds good. So once again, Power Virtual Agents. Once again, that's one of the newest pillars that Microsoft has added to the actual overall Power Platform. And basically, in my opinion, what it is Microsoft has went and wrote a whole bot framework, and then actually created the the framework and the tools to create your own bot. So now we have the ability to create our own chat bot. And once we create that chat bot, we could actually have it hosted in Teams. We could go ahead and put it on a website, or we could even embed it into a Power App. So it is pretty cool, and it's once again, it's a lot of drag and drop. Since they've done a lot of the bot framework stuff already, it makes building the bot a lot easier. And so basically what you do is you basically come up with an idea, like for instance, if you want to talk call center, we can have where, that could be your first point of contact for your customers, where they're going to come in, and it could be as easy a question as what are your office hours, or where are your locations at, or how do I get help with something. And what we do is, with the framework, is as the coder, as the person creating the bot, we try and guess what those phrases would be. And then the framework takes all those different parts of the phrases. So if the customer has any one of those things in there, like hours or office location, it's going to pick those up and use artificial intelligence to go through and then spit back the actual answer to whatever we code. And one of the coolest things, I'll just finish and then I'll go back to you. One of the coolest things I think about it is since it is all hosted in the cloud, Microsoft goes ahead and they actually do telemetry and analytics on your bot. So then you can actually see what are the actual questions, what are the things that users are asking your bot, and then it'll also tell you, was your bot able to answer those or not. So it's really cool that you can go out to this Insights website and look at your bot after you've created it. And so you can just keep increasing the percentage that you're answering the questions that your customers are asking. So, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, absolutely. And that's kind of where I was going with this, is that, they use a lot of it's a generic term, but it's their platform, the Azure AI pieces, right? And they're
Yes.
using a lot of that, the AI development engine. But really, the bots, you see them everywhere. Like, you go to a website, and the very first point of contact is some kind of thing that pops up and says, "Hey, you need some help. Hey, can I answer any questions?" And you're not talking to a live person yet.
Yep.
Um, but the great thing is, I mean, you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company to have that functionality, and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to have that function, right? Isn't that the kind of the point of this?
Yep.
You've got
Exactly.
those tools right away as part of the Power Platform. So, and we're definitely not talking thousands of dollars. So,
Yeah, because
um,
you can create a Teams. You have two different ones. You have a Teams bot one where you can actually create it in Teams, and that actually is mostly free. And or you can actually do your full blown hosted on Azure because we have some large
right.
customers. Matter of fact, like the Miami Dolphins, it's one of the cool things that Microsoft actually has on theirs is the Miami Dolphins actually created a actual chat bot to do all their ticketing, and it's actually on their website. So if you actually go to the Miami Dolphins, you will be greeted by one of the chatbots created with the Power Virtual Agents, and that will answer your questions. And they actually boast that they have a 98% that whatever question you ask it, it will be able to answer it. And like I said, it's worth. I guess anybody on the call would definitely go out into their website and take a look at it and see, and that would give you just a easy, quick glimpse of what actually can be done with Power Virtual Agents and artificial intelligence out of the box.
Definitely. I will say that I've had a lot of interactions with the power of the general AI that functions behind the scenes with the Power Platform. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah.
You see glimpses of it in different spots, and it's like, wow, I never would have guessed. Even some of the voice stuff that works within Teams, like how they do inflections and that, because they study big data sets,
Yes.
analyze them, and then turn them around and put them into practical models. It's fascinating. So, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
What is your favorite thing that you've done so far in the Power Platform, in any of the things that you've done personally?
Yeah, probably my favorite thing is actually trying to leverage at least three or possibly four. We've done some stuff with the Power Virtual Agents. Like I said, I definitely would like to do more work there. But like I said, with the ticketing system, that's probably the coolest one because that took all three of the first three pillars and combined them. So then we actually have a Power App that's customly developed, that's customly branded, and then it's going to go ahead and do exactly what the user needs it to do. And then we use Power Automate to more or less take things like, for instance, like if I want to send the customer email, if I want to send the technician email, we coded all that using Power Automate. And then at the last part, we actually had, you know, another role of manager. So when the manager came in, they would be able to look at all the tickets so they could keep track. Okay, which tickets are older than 5 days, and they could be able to filter the data and look at it. And then we also gave them Power BI reports. So not only they could easily see, you know, how is this week going? How is this month going? How is this technician performing, you know, on his duties, you know? And that's one of the cool things too, is, you know, if you're sending out customer surveys to your customers, we can go capture all that data and bring it back in so we can see what is the rating of our technicians. And if we have technicians that are getting lower ratings, maybe we need to spend some time training them. So it was kind of, that's probably one of the cooler things I've done, is it combining at least the first three of the pillars into just one application. And you can't really,
Certainly.
you know, tell that it was done with all three because it's all rolled into one application. But yeah.
No, that's great. No, that's great. I'm just going to remind our audience that now's the portion that we kind of take as many questions as we can get. So please, if you have them, now is your chance. If we happen to get a question after we've gone off, we'll definitely get back to you and answer it after the show. But that's this point. I do have another question for you. There is a fifth, like not really talked about part of the Power Platform. That's Power Pages. Have you personally ever done anything with that?
Now, you say Power Pages, are you talking about the portals?
The
Or
the portals, the
yeah,
websites,
yep,
the Power
yep,
Pages. Yeah.
yep, exactly.
Have
And
you
that
ever done
once
anything with
again,
that personally?
we actually, I'm actually working on that. I currently have one customer that's actually asked us to help them with that. So so I'm actually actively working on that. But what that is it basically, it's one of the newest things that they've added, just like you said. So, and
Yep.
what it is it's just like a Power App, but you know, Power Apps going to be loaded on your phone, or you actually hit an address to get it, since it is cloud based. Where the portal is in that same line as a Power App, because we're going ahead and creating a customer user interface for the user. But what it's meant to be is it's meant to be a customer facing portal. So
Mm,
what it does is it allows the users, if they have like a Twitter account, or if they have a Google account or a Microsoft account, we can go ahead and let that account be their access into our portal, since it's a customer facing portal. So like, for instance, if I was taking purchase orders from customers and I wanted to be able to have them go look at their history of what they've ordered from me, this would be a prime example of creating, as you said, a portal page that the customer would be able to log in with their login, go to that page, see what their history is, see how many days it's going to take for that next package to arrive at my house, and all that type of information. So
mm,
yeah, it's definitely a new add, and that's the thing about the Power Platform, is Microsoft is always adding new stuff every day, because they know this is the future. And you know, because low code, low cost, you know, solving customer problems, it's
yep.
what the users want. And you know, they're seeing over double digit growth in every single one of these pillars. So it's,
Absolutely.
the users are responding. So Microsoft is definitely making changes and adding new functionality every day. So
Absolutely. Well, we've kind of come to the end of our time, and we haven't received any questions. So, I've we could talk all day about this, but there's so much going on here with the Power Platform, and I'm sure we'd love to talk about anyone with this. So, everyone, if you'd like to talk to us, please feel free to visit our website at www.netcenter.net. You can email us at info@netcenter.net, or reach out to us on any of our social channels. Also, make sure to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button and clicking that little bell for YouTube. That way you are notified of our upcoming events or upcoming YouTube broadcasts. Remember, 11 a.m. on every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today on 11 a.m., you'll have another broadcast. Jason, I'd like to thank you for coming today and imparting your knowledge on the Power Platform.
hey,
Thanks
thanks, I
so
appreciate it.
much. Yes, thank you so much for attending. And everyone, goodbye from NCI Live.
Thank you.